Thank you. It is now 6:15. This is the Town of Auburn Board of Health meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have reviewed the agenda. We want to add and remove any items.
Sure. So we will, for the reorganization of the board, if we could wait until we have the full board.
Sure.
And then for the approval of the minutes, we're going to hold on the July 19 minutes.
Okay.
We do have the April and the May in your packets.
Do I just hold those until the next?
Well, the problem is Carolyn is on both of them.
Right.
With me or with you.
Yeah, right, yeah, so I think to get
Okay.
it'd be, yeah, a little bit better. for
That's
this
fine.
town
We
meeting,
can,
so-
we'll do a whole bunch of them at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. And then, so we've removed two of those items out of 2 and 4. Moved down to hearings. We have a 6:15 nuisance/dangerous dog hearing, 35 Church Street. Is anyone here present for that?
So we do have the animal control officer and animal inspector, Ms. Contois here.
Okay.
And we did have service go out to the dog owner. However, I'm not sure if the dog owner is present.
I am.
Oh, okay, excellent. Okay. Did you sign in, miss?
Yes.
Okay, sign in. So we have a hearing here at 6:15 in regards to this matter. So I will entertain a motion to open the hearing.
The move.
And
Open the hearing.
Second that, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so the hearing is now open in regards to the 35 Church Street hearing. And I will swear in the parties. So those for the town who will be testifying, can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You do, excellent. And who will be speaking in regards to the dog hearing? And is just yourself, ma'am, as a
Yes.
dog owner? Okay. Anyone else in the audience here for this hearing? No? Could you, I just need to swear you in as well, ma'am. Would you raise your right hand? Do you promise to tell the whole truth, so help you God, in regards to this?
Yes.
Thank you, okay. So in regards to the hearing format, we will hear from the town, and then we'll give you a chance as well, and then the board will take in all the information and make a decision, okay? All right. So, Ms. Contois.
Thank you. So we're here as a request for a nuisance dangerous dog hearing regarding an incident that occurred on May 22nd. The town of Auburn Animal Control was requested by the police department to respond to the area 35 Church Street at around 6:45 p.m. Following a dog bite incident. A dog that was identified as Josie, a 4-year-old spayed female, mixed breed dog, lab, cattle dog type mix, had gotten loose from 35 Church Street and bit a pedestrian in that incident. In speaking with the owner, Ms. La Liberty, it appears that one of the exterior doors to the property might have been opened by a young child, and that was how the dog got loose from the property. The dog was then running in and out of traffic and approached a pedestrian from behind and bit the gentleman on his inner thigh. Following that incident, I did have a conversation with Ms. Liberty. So Josie was quarantined at that time and released from quarantine. I did discuss with her the potential for a hearing because of the circumstances around the bite, and also measures that she was taking at that time to prevent something from happening. So since this bite did occur, the backyard has been fenced in. Earlier, I had discussed with the owner training for the dog. I don't know at this time if that training with a professional trainer has happened or if it's ongoing. The bite is concerning, that it does appear to be unprovoked in nature, running up behind somebody while they were walking.
Anything further? And Ms. Liberty, would you mind coming up? And thank you for coming tonight. Please have a seat. So in regards to what you hear, I mean, we'd certainly love to hear your side.
The police were not called. Police happened to be driving down the road when this occurred.
Okay.
So there's that. My son did open the door. He's 4. We've only been living in Auburn for the past 6 months. Josie, we lived in Barry prior. She had a full yard, it wasn't a busy street, so she's acclimating to the busy traffic, and I have fenced the yard in since, and I do tie her up to a tree. She does not even have free range anymore. She'll go out and then she'll come back in. In regards to the bite, I think that she was just riled up and she saw a gentleman coming towards our house. And ever since my fiance did pass away, he was the main person. I feel as though she needs to be extra protected of me and Jonathan. And so I feel that maybe in her mind it was a threat, him walking up to the house. It doesn't obviously disregard her actions. I was going to pursue training with her. There were only a few facilities, Petco doesn't do it, and a few other facilities didn't get back to me. But on top of that, I'm going to be buying her a shock collar as well. There's really nothing more to say. I'm sorry, I'm upset.
Okay, no, if
She
that's
shouldn't
quite
have
okay.
been, and she was never like that.
Yeah, sure. No,
Sorry.
we understand, we empathize with all that, so thank you for coming and sharing with you your story. So, are there any recommendations from the,
Sure, I do
Animal
have
control?
recommendations printed up
okay,
for the board. And just to read it out loud, as the bite was unprovoked, but with consideration towards the steps that the owner has taken to prevent future incidences, it's my recommendation that Josie would be deemed a nuisance dog in town with the following order: that while outside, Josie shall be humanely confined to the fenced-in portion of the yard while under direct supervision of the owner or any person with express permission by the owner to supervise the dog, or while outside a non-fenced-in area, shall be restrained at all times by a handheld leash or lead, provided, however, should not be chained, tethered, or otherwise tied to an inanimate object, including, but not limited to, a tree, post, or building.
I'm sorry, so she's not able to be tied to a tree, or is that what that means?
Sure, the recommendation would be if she's not in a fenced-in area,
Okay,
like in the front portion of your yard, she wouldn't be allowed to be tethered outside to anything stationary.
okay,
And that if she was in the backyard, she just has to have somebody back there with her
Okay.
to not be loose by herself.
thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. While in public settings, Josie shall be securely and humanely muzzled. That the owner or keeper of Josie shall provide animal control and the licensing authority information by which Josie may be permanently identified throughout her lifetime in the form of a microchip implantation within 30 days, or if Josie is already microchipped, the owner shall provide proof of microchipping. And that the owner shall provide proof of training services with a certified dog trainer, certified behaviorist, or veterinary behaviorist within 60 days of the order, and that the owner shall provide proof of obtained services in writing to animal control.
and I have one question in regards to that. What does and explain to me the microchipping do in regards to, I know it'll identify the dog, but where does that fit into like the overall, like the dog not biting again or anything like that?
So that's just so we have permanent identification for the dog for its lifetime. So if it does happen again, we can know for certain that it's the same dog.
And just not regular dog tags or anything that they get it registered within it, that's not sufficient?
Dog tags can come off, they can be removed, a collar can fall off. This is a standard form of permanent identification that's
Okay.
used in these cases.
And how much does that typically go?
It depends where an owner goes. There's low-cost facilities. Petco in town, I believe it's $20. We also do a microchipping and vaccine clinic in town every year through Second Chance, and I believe it's $15 at their usual clinics as well. Or a person can have a microchip done with their regular veterinarian too, but each clinic might have different prices for that.
And Mr. Liberty, did you have any further questions in regards to her recommendations, what she had just read?
I don't really agree with microchipping. She does have tags, but if that's a recommendation, then I obviously need to do it. As far as the dog training, considering I haven't had luck with that, finding a trainer, is there any recommendations of trainers that would be able to work with
We
her?
can provide you a list of trainers in the area.
And how long does she need to go for the courses?
Ideally, I would like an evaluation done by a trainer.
Okay.
And then the trainer would then be able to identify what areas Josie and yourself might need help with
Okay.
for the training. So I would probably leave that up to the trainer to decide a course of training specific to her and your needs.
Okay. That's all I have, sir.
Until you have any further questions, okay.
No.
So since this time, I understand that so this had happened and you'd fenced in the yard?
Yes,
And-
the
and
yard
she's
is
in there,
fully
okay.
fenced in.
And your
Yes.
4-year-old had opened the door and she had gotten out?
It was purely an accident.
Sure.
And she was chasing after vehicles, and in the heat of the moment, saw a person walking. It was just, honestly, it was bad timing. You know, it just,
And was there a second incident as well?
Not with Josie. There was another incident where Sweetie had gotten loose in June.
Okay.
she's now, I've put her down. She was 16.
Okay.
She is no longer.
Sorry to hear that. Okay. Board member, have any questions?
So Josie is 4,
Yes.
and you previously lived in Barry.
Yes.
Was she licensed in
Yes.
Barry? Did the town of Barry have any reports on file in regards to Josie?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
She, like I said, we lived up on a hill too, and the yard was fenced in as well, so she's not used to all the traffic on that road, and she gets excited, which I'm trying to work with her on that, but
Then you moved into the house in February?
yes.
Okay. And this happened in May? Okay.
So I think, I mean, this was already met.
That. No, it's just,
Can we can come up with, we can do this entire list. We can not do this entire list. We can do recommendations, but, you know, take some recommendations out. As far as deeming nuisance versus dangerous, can we not make a determination on either of those and just do some recommendations in lieu of there being another incident?
Sure, so the board has the authority to do it in 2 different steps.
Mhm.
You can deem a dog a nuisance, dangerous, or not make a declaration on the dog. If a declaration is made, then an order has to be put in place. If you were to deem the dog a nuisance or dangerous, then the order would follow, where you can either take recommendations, make your own order, take some, not others. But without a declaration of nuisance or dangerous, we can't put an order out. If the board wanted to make strong recommendations, it just wouldn't be in the form of an order.
Do you have the state reg in regards to definitions of dangerous versus nuisance?
I don't have those
You don't
on
have
right
those with
now.
you.
I can get those for you. if you
Yeah,
wanna take a
I
look
seem
at
to
them right now.
recall in previous dog hearings, we've had that definition.
I can go get those for you.
Sure.
Be
Just
awesome,
take a few
thank you.
minutes.
Okay.
So I think we'll hold the hearing in recess until such time we do get those definitions.
Okay.
Do you mind just waiting a few minutes?
Do I need to step out?
No.
or-
No, not at
Yeah, I
all.
just put the hearing in recess, Rick,
Sure.
that's all.
Not a problem.
Still go live,
You can just put it in,
or might put the sound on?
yeah, you can do that. And we'll let you know when we're ready to go back. right, we're out of recess in the hearing. We have the additional information in regards to the Master General Law, which was requested by the board that we're reviewing now. Ms. Contois, in regards to number 4 here, this is the time of the attack, we're talking about, as far as the dog age cannot be grossly disproportionate to any of the following. The time of the attack, the threat, the person or animal that was attacked or threatened by the dog had breached an enclosure structure. The dog was inside the house. Is that considered that?
So the number 4 for the MGL is referring to somebody entering the property. So if a person breached, say, a fence to enter a backyard, and then was attacked by a dog.
Okay. So it doesn't deal with...
It doesn't apply in this
Okay, under the age of
situation.
7, opening a gate, I see.
Yep, so this, that portion of the MGL, the age of 7 just means a young child. So if a young child enters a property, then it's not applicable. If a dog attacks a young child that has accidentally entered a property, the dog can still be deemed dangerous.
I think maybe the definitions under
Yeah.
chapter 140, 136A, for dangerous or nuisance might give some clarity,
Yeah.
you know, under what you would feel comfortable for each one of those
Yeah.
determinations. I believe Ms. Contois is referring to nuisance under the definition for triple I.
This is the big thing right here under the, I know there's extenuating circumstances in the events. The dog previously being transported from Barry to Auburn, getting out into probably a bigger traffic situation, motion than it would be normally. No previous knowledge or records from the town of Barry on any complaints on the dog.
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you personally meet the dog?
I was actually on limited duty at the time. I was injured,
Okay,
so I haven't had the chance to meet the dog.
okay.
My assistant went out there.
And did she have any report as to the dog's demeanor at the time of her visit?
She did. She didn't note any excessive aggressive behavior. So it really is just stemming back to this fight incident and it being unprovoked.
Right.
But if I could just maybe add another recommendation
Sure.
to the board. With the difference between nuisance and dangerous. Dangerous, it's very strict in the MGL what has to be done. With a nuisance determination, you get a little bit more leeway. With a dangerous dog, you have to choose from what the MGL offers as remedial action versus a nuisance. You can come up with your own plan that's going to best suit the situation. The dangerous determination lasts for the lifetime of the dog, but you can also add in a clause to the nuisance determination if you wanted it to stretch for a certain period of time and barring any incidences in, say, a year, lift a nuisance determination.
The dog is now licensed in the town of Auburn?
It is now, yeah.
Was it previously licensed in the town of Barry?
I'm not sure if
Okay.
if it was previously licensed in Barry.
Okay.
At the time here, was it licensed at the time this happened in town?
That I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. So it
It was
not-
licensed following.
It was following. And was there proof of rabies certification that you had with the dog at the time?
She did not, no.
She did not. Okay.
Okay.
And since has that been met?
It has.
Okay. All right. I think I would make a recommendation to go with giving the dog a nuisance dog with recommendations 1 and 2 of the animal inspectors. Taking in lieu of the circumstances of recent move, 4-year-old letting it out.
The fact that she's already put in a fence around the yard.
And there's been proactively steps
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too.
Okay.
Comment?
So I think I would put in I'd also going to add one, so the nuisance animal for 1 year, recommendations 1 and 2. And did you,
And just, if, obviously still discussing it,
Mhm.
but I think we would have to, when you're both in agreement, for Steve to make the motion.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
all right.
Yeah.
And if I can just ask a question, is that for a year if there are no further incidences, or
Well,
is that just?
if there's another incident, they'd have to come back to the board, correct? There'd be another, like
Depending on the
if-
circumstances, if it was a violation of the order, we would be back here.
but if
But if
another
there was a
person.
fight that necessarily didn't happen as a violation, I probably would still bring it back,
Yeah,
but it wouldn't necessarily be a violation of the order.
so then why don't we add something in there that if there was another bite ever recorded, then we'd have to come back.
Does the town have a specific bylaw regulation in regards to dogs? Or is it just simply that the dogs need to be licensed?
We have a lot of bylaws
How many
related to dogs.
pages would you say?
Several pages. We
Okay.
have 2 sections specifically for animals. One of those sections is all related to dogs.
Okay.
So it's the, obviously, the animal control officer, animal inspector is charged with the duties of
Mhm.
the bylaws,
Right.
which she does. And this also is part of the Mass General laws
Mhm.
and our bylaws.
Mhm. Is there a resident handout? Any kind of information? Or is it on the town website?
Yes, it is on the town website.
Okay.
Yep, all the town bylaws can be accessed electronically.
So nuisance 1 year, any further incidents come back to the board
Mhm.
with these 2 recommendations.
Mhm. Yeah, I would completely agree. So I'd make a motion that the board declare the dog a nuisance and then for a 1 year period, that we would go with the animal control officer's number 1 and 2 recommendations being that the dog be humanely confined to the fenced-in portion of the yard, or, do you want me to read the whole thing?
I think you can say as referenced in
As referenced in
animal
the
control
dog
officer's
control
recommendation.
officer's recommendations, and as number 2, that the dog be securely and humanely muzzled while in public. Also that any infractions of any of the town code, bylaw, or regulations in regards to dogs, any licensing or vaccination violations, that it would be brought back before the board.
I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there's a vote.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Move a motion to close the hearing.
Second, and those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have a local upgrade approval request to 230 Leicester Street. Make a motion to open,
We'll move to make that motion.
Move to make a motion, I second it. All those in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
Aye. We have a open hearing for 230 Leicester Street. Are there folks here for this?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
my name's Richard Chafee. I'm going to be the installer of the septic system, and the engineer couldn't make it this evening,
Okay.
but I was able to speak to Darlene at one point,
And I think we'll have Ms.
Okay.
Coyle go first. I think
Sure.
it's just a
Very
matter
good.
of with 2 feet, so.
Okay.
Ms. Coyle?
Thank you.
Fine.
How are you, Richard?
Good.
Good. So, 230 Leicester Street, this property is, a septic plan has been before the board a few times. And there were so it's a tighter lot. We do have an approved plan on file. And recently, there was some discussion from the engineer in collaboration with the owners who are present for some changes to the plan that we had approved. So previously, the board had approved a offset to groundwater as 3 feet, and also a design +1 and setback distance from the well. Those you have heard at previous meetings back in, I think it was February, and then also in April. So we do have an approved plan. I think through discussions, and this property is currently not anybody's living in it, but they have renovated the property. It's going very well, looks beautiful. But the septic system was in failure, so this is something that they've moved towards. I think there was some discussions about the current system that's approved may impact the yard a little bit higher than this redesigned system. So this plan came in yesterday. I had been in contact with the engineer, and he had stated that he wanted to get onto our meeting for an offset to groundwater for 2 feet, which is allowable through this system. The Presby system does allow a 2-foot offset to groundwater in accordance with the DEP approval for it. So you do have in your packets the local upgrade approval request, and separation to groundwater is 2 feet. The PERC was a higher rate of 50 minutes per inch, and we do have 5 bedrooms. It's a 2-family with 3 bedrooms on one side and 2 bedrooms on the other. And I think that has remained the same. And since previous board approval, it's my understanding that they did have a existing well, and the engineer has noted that the existing well has been abandoned. And I had been in contact with the Auburn Water District at some point in the past couple of months, and do know that they did connect the house to public water. So that's great, we're glad to hear it.
And
They
it
were,
has been decommissioned.
so we do have a note on the plan, and I do think paperwork, paperwork would need to come to our office.
Okay.
I don't think we've got that far yet,
Okay.
but that would be
Yep.
something that we would need, obviously as part of this approval. So this is a plan before you for the offset to groundwater, and I think that is all that's being requested this evening, unless I,
No, that's basically what we're asking for.
okay.
So just to be clear though, on that 2-foot offset to groundwater, that's 2 feet from the bottom of the C33 sand. So there's an additional 6 inches of sand that it would go through. So it's basically a 30-inch offset to groundwater instead of 2 feet. Am I correct, Donnie?
So as part of the DEP approval, whatever the design requirements are, obviously would need to be
Yeah,
met.
so-
I think you are Presby certified, so
But
whatever.
specifically, it sounds like we're asking for 2 feet from the bottom of the system, but it's actually 30 inches based on the C33 sand at the bottom of the Presby units. So the units would be 30 feet, 30 inches above grade, not 2 feet. So, and basically, it was already approved at 3 feet, like Darlene said, and where the well has been decommissioned and filled in with bentonite, it's going to make a big impact on the yard. dropping it that
Mhm.
additional foot.
Was it originally approved for a Presby system?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
for a 3-foot offset.
For the 3-foot?
Yep, so this request is for a 2-foot offset.
Right,
Which Presby, this type of system is allowable.
by the
um,
state.
Right,
Title V.
right, Department of
Okay.
Environmental Protection. So the, anything that obviously DEP has an approval for, obviously we wouldn't have any objections to that. We're happy to see that the property was able to be connected to public water through the Yaga Water
Mhm.
District. We would just want the paperwork on the well abandonment as part of
Mhm.
the final sign-off.
And the flow was previously approved for the 5 bedrooms?
It was.
And the 550?
Yes, the
Okay.
board approved that previously.
Okay.
I have not done the plan review on this. The plan came in yesterday. So if the board is favorable to the request, it would just be conditional upon the plan review and the well.
Does our current regulations specify Presby systems and their offsets?
It's the state identifies
Right.
approvals for innovative alternative systems. So at the town level, we don't have to do that. We can follow
Thank
the
you.
state requirements.
Alright, so, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll move to accept the requested 2-foot offset according to meeting Title V.
And to your plan review as well, right?
Sure, the plan review and we want
And
to
of course, final plan review.
Sure.
I second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Thank
No
you.
second, and all those in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
Thank you.
I know sometimes we have regulations that exceed the state, like our flow rates.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve.
Sometimes we have our septic regulation exceeds the state. Normally, we would require bedroom plus 1.
Yes, yep, so that's
why I
more
was-
restrictive.
Right,
Yep.
and that's why I was asking, do we have a more restrictive,
Oh, for this
the Presby
particular system,
system in
no.
our
No.
regs? So I
They,
don't,
they do have, the way that it's set up for those approvals.
yeah,
So they have to go through like a whole state process.
Okay.
There's a procedure that they have to follow.
And
And
does
so
it-
that's done at the state level. I wouldn't want to put anything more restricted
no.
than,
So does the state require the local board to approve that 2-foot?
yes.
Okay, what's the standard?
Well, here's, I guess what I would say is, local upgrade approval requests
Uh-huh.
are approved by the local authority.
Right.
While this is a approved septic, it's an approved, I'm sorry, approved
Design?
type of system.
Mhm.
We have always brought those LUAs to the board.
Okay. Okay,
Does that answer your question?
not really.
Okay, I'm
Why
sorry.
does it require an LUA?
Because you're not meeting the minimum requirement of 4-foot offset to groundwater. So
Based
the
on
state,
oh,
so the
from
state Title V requires a 4-foot
4-foot,
offset to
okay.
groundwater.
So this,
So anything
this-
less than
this
that?
innovative system,
Mhm.
although recognized by the state having a 2-foot offset, is still considered LUA.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
In 6:30, we have the open discussion on the single-use plastic bag reduction draft bylaw review. We have a copy of those in our packet, and time to review those. Do you have anything short on that as far as,
Sure. May I, the animal control officer, the hearing is done. Do you have any further
No.
questions for her?
No, thank
Be
you.
okay if we
Nope.
allow her
oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, we had closed the hearing and everything, so
Okay,
yeah. totally.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, so for the All right, so since our last discussion on this, I think that the board has looked at the draft that had been provided by the Board of Selectmen. And as you may recall, the Board of Selectmen had discussed this. They put it on a non-binding referendum vote, and it was overwhelmingly supportive by the residents to move forward with discussions about this. So the next steps on this is to take a look at the draft on what the single-use plastic bag reduction is, provide comment back to the Board of Selectmen and town management, and the selectmen will decide what goes forward to the town meeting this fall. So at the last, I guess that's at our last meeting, and through discussions of us, myself and Eileen and Jordan in the office, talking about how this draft bylaw would be implemented, we looked at what's going on elsewhere in the state. There's many towns in the state that have already passed this type of bylaw or regulation, and at the state level, they do also have a bill that is before I think it's the Ways and Means Committee that is reviewing it right now. They have a version that is similar, but has a lot more, I guess, clarification for definitions. And I do have a copy of those for you. So we were able to reach out to
Thank you.
our local rep, and they were able to provide a copy of the most recent version. So I wanted to just bring to your attention the fact that we have a version at the state level. The state level identifies some definitions where they go into some of the discussion that I think we had regarding retail establishments, what a single-use bag is, and then they talk about some exemptions. For purposes of how that relates to the current draft bylaw, I think that there's a lot of good information that I think we can take from this, and possibly mirror some of what is involved in the state legislative bill that's being considered. And just wanted to bring to your attention that if they move forward, right now, I think what's happening is the bill is under that review for that committee on Ways and Means, and then it has to go from that committee and be voted favorably by the House of Representatives before going to the Senate for consideration. There's more steps in the legislative process that have to happen before it would even go to the governor for consideration. And I guess it has gone through a similar process in the past, but hasn't been moved forward. So while there is a draft version at the state level, it may go forward or it may not. I think that it's clear that the town of Auburn does want to have further discussion and possibly a bylaw in place. I think that one of the things that I got from reading other regulations, and I think Eileen has also looked at other towns as well, we certainly would want to make sure that it is something that is easy to follow. And because our department would be responsible for enforcement, at least in what is proposed in the draft, we want to make sure that we're able to provide information and be able to speak with retailers and have it be clear. And I think that's something that some of the definitions in the Auburn draft, maybe we could look to see the state version and see if there's any way that we can simplify these definitions.
So it looks like you have a lot of recommendations as far as what you like and you possibly don't like in that version. I think maybe if you just come up with something and submit it to the board on behalf of us, and maybe you have our full support on. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna, if this department's gonna be the most impacted, you guys need to have a say in what is gonna do it, and you know what you're teaching. If you have all that written down, and I think, and I'm not gonna speak for myself, and I'm sure that other board members, that we have our full support and fervor to kind of go do, write letters and sign away and use us as, having discussions. I don't know.
I think the last meeting, Carolyn and I brought up two issues. Section 4, paragraph C. It looks like the state has recommended twice what the town was putting down.
You're referencing the penalties, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And my only other concern was how many deferments. And again, like Eric said, this is going to fall on your shoulders. When the town meeting, should it pass this regulation, you're left enforcing it. It would be awesome if it could just be part of your annual inspections. That, okay, check, paper bags, check. But it's going to probably be a learning curve for the vendors and retailers that first 6 months, maybe that first year.
Because we're still a year out before this would even eventually even go for a vote, right?
So if this,
May election is the first time, the closest it would ever go, right?
well, actually, we have
Special town
we
meeting.
have the town meeting in the fall.
Mhm.
So this would be going to the fall town meeting, which I
Right.
think they set for October.
Yeah.
October 15th or somewhere thereabouts, that this draft, if there's no changes to it, this would be the draft that would go forward.
Yeah.
I think, just from going through and taking the input from the board from last meeting,
Yeah.
obviously that's one of the things that I've highlighted. So the enforcement for violations, how that's handled differs from what we have in the Auburn
Right.
draft. One of the things that I think that I've seen differs also is the type of bags. Whether or not a compostable or marine degradable bag is allowed or not allowed. You know what I mean? Identifying what the single-use carry-out bag, what the thickness of it is, that's, kind of more clearly defined in the state reg. And then whether or not there are deferments, and how many of those deferments. I know that was a concern, because if we, as the board, now have to have, businesses coming before us to ask for deferments, obviously that can be labor intensive for all of the staff, and for our board meetings.
Yeah.
So if that would be something that, whether or not deferments are allowed, or give a longer period for the bylaw to go into
Right.
place. So give people longer time to be able to get education out there from the town, and for the businesses to be able to use up their existing stock. So, I think that's probably reasonable too, to give people time to do that. And I think that probably goes to your point, Eric, about if it were to be voted at the fall town meeting, there's a period of review that goes to the AG's office, so it doesn't go into effect right away, or enforcement. and then when that would kick in. So when the AG approved our whole meeting and what the articles are, and then from that period, a timeline. So that would be, I think, worked out between town council and the AG's office as to when the effective date of enforcement would go into to discuss.
I just want to make sure that you're able to get all of your stuff into a bylaw that is going to fit your needs.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think if you have that, and if we can come up, get that in writing and submit that to
Yep.
the Board of Selectmen, and, you know,
So ultimately, it would be, because it's a bylaw, obviously the Board of Selectmen would be presenting it, and we would provide the comments, and hopefully, comments would be
Yeah.
considered.
Yeah.
So,
I would hope the Board of Selectmen would consider all comments and take them seriously from the department that's going to be doing the enforcement.
sure. So I think that, having that in one of the other things that that they did have in here is they have a lot of really, I think there's a lot of thoughtfulness put into the state legislative bill, even around, food safety and how food items are handled with certain bags, when you go to the deli, when you go to the fish counter, when you're separating, say a pound of hamburger in a paper bag, next to your ready-to-eat foods. I think there's a lot of thought that went into this, and if this actually does go into effect, if it moves forward at the state level, they do have something in here that identifies if there's any existing municipal ordinance, bylaw, or regulation, including a regulation of the Board of Health or bylaw, that is inconsistent with the provisions of this chapter, when effective, shall be null and void. They identified that if you have something in place that's not going to be consistent with what this proposed bill is, I think,
So all the more reason to
to try to,
use what you've highlighted there and to make it more applicable to what you need, so, okay.
And they even identify section 1 shall take effect 1 year after passage of this act. So even having like the timeline in there.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of good information that we might be able to see if the Board of Selectmen, obviously we take under advisement
Yeah.
from the board, but I think I hear from you may be supportive of state wording.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
Yeah.
a lot of good information here, and that's great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to director's items, I don't see there's much here. Septic and well, we have a ton of those in the packet. I don't know about you, Steve, but do we have to give copies of these? I mean, is that a regulation that we have to see those? Or
You don't, it's just,
just to say paper? I mean, there's so many of them.
Unfortunately, you do have a larger packet this month, just because we had, I think we had June and July's in there.
Yeah.
Because we had some meetings that we didn't have everybody here. So you have a little bit larger packet, and it's just to keep you informed.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with not seeing every single one of those. I mean, if it's something, just for informational purposes, I mean, I'm okay with not putting them in.
Yeah. Like even just a simple X number of wells.
Yeah, just the number of them. I mean, the whole letter and everything. Like that. Save paper, save time.
And
save
obviously
effort,
what
yeah.
problems are,
Yeah.
that's gonna be helpful for us.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly, anytime there's a problem,
Yeah, we should do anyway,
obviously we'll
so,
bring a
yeah.
packet on that.
Yeah.
But if that's, if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I think I just think a summary, just FYI for our,
Okay. We can do that.
We completed, 27 well reports and
Sure.
15,
Maybe not even every
however.
month, but every quarter. I mean,
Yeah,
Something you do
yeah.
every day, so.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
We do have licensing reminder, again, just animal control, letting people know that they are supposed to have their dogs licensed by now. There are now late fees incurring. The tobacco control update, I think I had told you that is something that We do not have Worcester Regional Tobacco Control Collaborative any longer. Unfortunately, the grant was not something that they were going to continue with, but we've got some great information and some inspector training for both Eileen and Jordan. So we feel very comfortable with that. Solid waste, we have, Colleen is already out on the road. Eileen has been out on the road working with her very closely. So things are going very well there. Central Mass Mosquito Control, they've obviously been busy. You've seen across the state the notifications for West Nile and now Triple E. So, knock on wood, we don't have any positive samples as of yet. We're hoping that, the efforts continue.
Yeah.
Central Mass Mosquito.
Have you noted the trends on the surveillance reports over the years? As far as how many positive mosquitoes they're finding?
So it's been several years since Triple E has been seen. They believe it's cyclical. So
Right.
when they see Triple E, which West Nile is much more common,
Right.
but Triple E,
Triple E's not that
I was
common
taken
at
back a
all,
little
is
bit,
it?
just because you haven't heard it
Yeah.
in quite some time. But they do say that when it happens, you might have occurrences of it happening and then it'll go, where you wouldn't hear about it for several
Yeah.
years. But it is something that they're dangerous diseases, and we constantly encourage people to protect themselves when they go out.
Emergency preparedness.
Emergency preparedness. Jordan?
Yes, so our farmers market last week, we had a Board of Health booth that we gave emergency preparedness for residents as well as some pet emergency preparedness information. Our board member, Kaylin Griffin, was there just to help out and get involved in the community. We had some supplies that were provided from animal control specifically for pets and how to help prepare in an event of an emergency. There was some lists on local hotels and motels that accept animals, how to help prepare an emergency kit for yourself as well as your pets, important documentation that you might need for both residents as well as their pets, and other ways to kind of get prepared and be a little bit more aware of things in case of an event of an emergency. That was a good turnout. We also had some supplies provided from the state clearinghouse. We had reusable bags that the state issues out to, or we can order from the state clearinghouse, with some pamphlets as well.
Excellent.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. And flu season, no update. It's come around the corner though. And farmer's market update. Is there anything with that?
It's still going on Thursday, the night that we have our concert at Pappas, and we have 3 left. So we have this Thursday and 2 more weeks, and it varies week to week with vendors, but it's very well attended because the concert brings a lot of people.
Excellent. Anything with the Mayhew report? This is,
Yeah, so we have the last 3 months.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then anything new with inspections? You guys to
We don't have it. We do have 2 establishments that are considering opening town. I don't know if I told you, a Domino's Pizza is going through the process to open in the TJ Maxx Plaza down at the far end. I think it used to be a play sport and a beauty place,
Okay.
the last one. So we're in the middle of a review process for that. We have just a renovation of Taco Bell, so we're doing a kitchen review on that one. And then just the normal inspections that Jordan's been doing to keep us with our 2 every year. So things are moving along.
Excellent. Okay.
And unless you have any questions for us, it would just be, we'll,
Do the emails
Yeah,
and figure out when we can
September
meet
meeting.
next, yeah. I don't have anything, Steve, anything?
Motion to adjourn?
All right, so moved. And second that, all in favor? Aye. And thank you very much, appreciate everybody's time, thank you.